Right people, after that fail, well I don't look upon it as I look upon it as a fail in maintenance, but not a fail as in workability. I mean, it lasted 5 years and I was happy with that. Now before we go any further, a word about shop tools. There is one tool that every single workshop in the world needs. It's the very first tool you should ever put in your workshop. It's this one. A nice hot cuppa. Best tool in the business. Okay. Here's the globe from the new, well it's not new ceiling fan, I got it from a second hand shop. £10 I paid for it. I've got an idea for this globe along with its mounting. So we won't be using that mounting, so I'll be able to use it for any other project. So we'll set that to one side. Here are the brackets for holding the vanes on. Okay, now there's two in there by the way. If I was doing a halt, horizontal axis wind turbine, I could use these as the propeller and then I'd be able to use these. But we're not, we're making a VAWT, a vertical axis wind turbine, so they will go for another project along with the associated brackets. This is the ceiling mount. That way, yep. I may use this on the vault instead of this. Getting into here, into the channel, is difficult, as you saw. Whereas here, look, you can just slide it in and it drops in place. So we'll see how that goes. So we'll keep that. Some ancillary screws and pins and some American twist ties for joining cables. Don't know the proper name for them. We won't be using those. They're frowned upon in this country. Okay, not to worry. Plenty of nuts and bolts to bolt it all together when we get there. And here's the business end. This here will be coming off, and as I said, this bit and this bit will be going to my project with the lampshade. This will be coming off. Probably using this part of the shaft, I've no idea yet. I'm just talking out of the top of my head. What I'll do is I'll get some gear up together now that I've got the important tool by the side of me, and we'll start taking this apart. Okay guys? Hey peeps, this is the wiring for the fan, and those two are for the motor and these two are for the light. So these two wires, when I take this off, I will pull all the way out, so I've then got these already connected up. It has got an American Edison screw fitting, so I will be changing that for a British BNC. So there we are. Let's get to work. Theoretically, I should be able to undo these fixing screws and pull that off in, oops, easy. Pull that off in one go, taking the two wires with it. Now before I pull them through, I'm going to separate them, because pound to a penny there'll be a wire like that and they'll get to that point and jam, so I'm taking them apart. There we go. Okay, so I've undone those screws, and hopefully it's not tied inside too tightly. It is by the feel of it. Oh no, we're going. Ah, right, I see why. We need to take this off, because in there's loads of wires. So this is the bit where all the controls are. And Raymond, if you'd have thought about it properly, you'd have realised that. But me being a thicko, you know, it takes brains to think of things like this, or like that. And as my normal occupation is orbiting the Earth with my rear end on fire, in other words a tratolite, then I like this. Look at that, all in one, magic. Right, that goes with that project there. Right, so we can still pull out the light wires because I don't want them. Okay, and we can pull out the motor wires, because the actual motor wires are there. And I haven't got anything to chop that off with, so with the power of video magic, I'll be back in an instant. How's that then? That was quick, wasn't it? Right, just lob these off. Keep that wire for future use. The other wire is an earth. I'm going to take that off because it's not required on this voyage. But like all the other cable, we'll keep it because it'll come in handy at a later date. Now then, this I think goes down like that, and then the pin comes out. And if you do it wrong like me, the backs of your fingers smart because you're at the edges of this. Oh dear, dear. What a gay day, said the actress to the bishop. Right, I'm going to take this locking screw out. I take all the screws out because it saves them dropping around all over the place. Right, take that off. Right. Did I do that? Good nut. I've got a hammer. If I had a hammer. Right, let's try that. There we go. Lovely jubbly. Get the rid in. It's much better to strip everything down to the basics, because that way you can do the modification without any hindrance. And believe me, you get enough hindrance when you're doing a modification, you don't want any more. Okay, these are the screws for holding the vanes. So they can come out, they're not holding anything. And when you come to check the coils, once you've done the modification, to find out the which is the highest resistance. I just look for the two wires that are connected to one coil and the other two to the other coil. The reason being is that I use both windings. A lot of people say well, that's detrimental to the main power, but the way I'm going to be using the power coming out of this, it won't matter because I'm not looking for 12 volts to charge car batteries. I am only looking for 5 volts because I'm charging lithium cells basically individually, and then when they're fully charged it all switches over to series, so that then I get the 12 volts out. So I'm not asking this to do a great deal other than produce a small amount of power. And because of that, the current that does get produced by this, which isn't a great deal, some people have had 2 amps out, some have only had milliamps out. In general, I've had around about an amp, 500 milliamps, and that's good enough for me because using this and the solar panels is great. And then once I've got this back up and running and my solar panels up outside, I'm then going to be tackling an earth supply. And you've all just gone, what? Yes, the power of the earth. I think the gravity number is 7 or 9, can't remember which. I'm going to keep these bolts separate so I don't get them mixed up with all the others and I don't have to go looking for them. And these hold the 2 halves together, and they screw into the rotor. With an AC rotor it's different to a DC rotor, because DC rotor's got magnets on it, and an AC rotor is made of laminated steel, I think it is. You'll see when I've opened this up, and I can then take it out and show it to you. I mean, a lot of you who have been doing these sort of conversions for a long time know what I'm talking about, but I'm trying to explain to those just coming into this conversion system. I mean, recently I watched a load of conversions on YouTube, all very good in their own right, but in actual, this is how you do it, not very good. I mean, I put one bloke say, right, I'm going to do this, I'll do it off camera, and then I'll come back when I've done it. Well, how's that teaching anybody if you do it off camera? It isn't. Right, now then, this is going to be fun to get off, and I need some helpers. I'm going to go away, have a drink of my tea, have a think, and then I'll come back to you with, I think, a solution. Okay, I've resorted to a bench vise. What I'm going to do is I'm going to gently, above the vise, is tap it with a screwdriver and turn it and tap it. It's raised underneath enough so that when this drops there'll be somewhere for it to go. So should we give it a whirl? It looks like it's off, so let's have a look. Right, it's a wee bit tough. Can I get the screwdriver in that gap? Let's see if I can find a smaller one. Also, need a device to give me a bit more space. You don't want to go at this too harshly, because if you bend the casing, then your magnets are going to be all over the place. Now, I'm probably having this much problem because there should be a bearing in there, but as I haven't opened one of these up before, I'm not 100% certain. All mine have been sort of what I call the small skinny ones. And I'm probably doing this all wrong, but there are no screws or anything like that to hold it in, so I'm assuming it's the bearing that's the problem. And well, I seem to have worked a gap in there quite nicely. So yeah, there's a bearing there. There's a bearing there. Looks like I'm making progress. So what I'll try and do is lever it off on the stator. If I can just go around there, so oops. Try this one in here a bit more. Okay, I've got two in there, let's see if we can get a third one in. Ooh. It's giving. Well, toughy. The thing you've got to be careful of as well is you don't damage the coils by pushing the screwdriver in too far. So what I'm going to do now is get a piece of wood in there. I've got some more bits of wood, so I'll go and get them and I'll be back. Put the next one in. That one's in there. Hooray! There you go, peeps. It was the bearing. Okay. Right, that's one side. Here's the AC rotor I was telling you about. And that will come out. It's only push fitted in there. Says he. Okay. Right, now then, I'm going to try a little something to free that. It'll work. Pin in there. Like I said, if it'll work. I see one old smaller than the other. A bummer. Well, that's easily cured. It's called a drill. What I'm going to do is put the pin in, put our cap on, and then hit this with a hammer while holding this, and hopefully that'll drop out the bearing housing. This to be a loose fit. It's cleared on the first hole, but it's just goes through on the second hole. See, it's stuck. So what I'll do is I'll just run the drill through, and then the pin should fit in quite nicely. Yeah, don't worry, I'm keeping an eye on the filings dropping into the coils. There we go. And that goes over there like that. Lovely. Now I'm hoping I can hit that with the hammer while holding that to my body, and that will drop out of houses. So here we go. Be careful you don't trap your fingers in that gap. And what you do is take that off, take the pin out, and hey presto, there's your stator with all the coils on. And now all we need to do is remove this, and then we can set about organising how we're going to have the magnets in here. Right, so it's going, albeit slowly. But I'm sorry my hand's in the way, but see how many levers I've got. Here we go. And there it is. That is the AC rotor. There's a proper name for it, but I haven't got a clue. I mean, I've only got one cell and it's overloaded already. Right, that's that. So now, because this is the wider piece, this is where the magnets will be fixed to. Now we want the magnets, assume this nut is a magnet, we want the magnets to be like that to the stator. Not like that, not like that, like that. Or as Tommy Cooper used to say, just like that. Okay. Now, I do know that these bearings are not same distance apart from the stator. So that tells me that if I put it in one way, this will be lower to that. If I put it in the other way, this will be higher to that. And as we want this lower to that, it's going to go in this way because that bearing is lower and closer to the stator. Okay, and all we do, we straighten out. We will straighten out these wires in a minute, like that. Okay, and then when you're doing this sort of stuff, be very careful not to damage the coils. Because if you damage the coils, then it's game over. And then we just gently pop the bearing back in. Don't resort to hitting it in because you'll distort it. It's much better to do this and take your time, because eventually it sits down nicely. Like that. Okay, and as you can see, the stator is about halfway across the highest part of the fan, and the bearing is now in nice and tight. Yes, I know that I've got to put the pin back in, which I've distorted again, I think. And so put it in all the way around. Oh, I'll put it in all the way around. I could have done that, then that, and then hit it in. But in doing that, if you'd have had it on an angle and you hit it, it could have elongated this housing for the bearing. Whether it would have done or not, I've no idea. But my method ensures that doesn't happen, whether it would have happened or not. So it's just patience. Just keep pushing down with your fingers, and don't turn the stator and keep the shell still, because you're wasting time, because you're only going to press down on the same spot every time. So we turn around the whole thing by a quarter and a quarter. And if you want to know what the quarter is, the fixing screws. There's 4 of them. So if you go for each fixing screw, keeping the stator exactly in the same position, then you will get it seated properly. Now then, that's the other thing. Be careful when you're putting this on the bench that you're not trapping these wires. Because if you gradually work your way through those wires, then you've got to take the whole damn thing out and replace it with other wires. These are going to have extra cables added onto them to make them longer, so I can connect into the junction box. But right, we've got that far. I'm going to have a break, and I haven't got a clue how long this video is. So that's how far we've got so far. We're really ready to put the magnets in, and then we'll go from there.